First among the list of primary sources that we're going to discuss is The Customs of the Tagalogs by Juan de Plasencia. Juan de Plasencia is a Spanish friar for the Franciscan order who was in the Philippines for most of his missionary life. He is among the friars, the first set of friars to be sent to the Philippines by the Spanish government. He wrote several religious books, and one of the most popular is The Custom of the Tagalogs. Juan de Plasencia is also the author of the first printed publication in the Philippines, which is Doctrina Christiana, or otherwise known as the Christian Doctrine. It is recognized as the first ever printed book in the Philippines, and this is your Doctrina Christiana. If you open the first page of Doctrina Christiana, this is what you will see. It's printed in three languages. First one is Spanish. Second is Tagalog. And can you guess the third version? It's printed in Chinese. Because one of the goals of the Spaniards is to spread catechism. And China, being one of the most populous area in the world, is a good target for Spaniards to spread catechism. That's why they intended to print this doctrine in Chinese, hoping that those who are Chinoys in the Philippines will eventually get a copy of this one and bring it to them when they go back to China, therefore helping to the spread of catechism in China. The original copy of the Chinese version can be found in China. The original copy of the Spanish version is in Spain. But the original Tagalog copy of the Doctrina Christiana, you know where you can find it? No, it's not here in the Philippines. It's at Washington Library in the United States. How did it ended up there? We can only surmise that probably the Americans took it with them when they were here in the country. Juan de Plasencia also wrote a good number of books, which the main idea or the main objective is to promote the understanding of both the Spanish language among the natives and the spread of local languages among the missionary in order to facilitate the smooth spread of catechism. Unfortunately, in 1590, he died in Liliu, Laguna. These are the other works of Plasencia: the Relación de las Costumbres de los Tagalos, or the Customs of the Tagalogs, the La Santina, and the other is the Un Tomo de Sermones Varios en Tagalog. Customs of the Tagalogs. It was printed in 1589. It was written by Juan de Plasencia in order to showcase and to show what were the situation of the Philippines or the Tagalogs prior to the arrival of the Spaniards. The idea is to put an end to the injustices committed against slaves by certain government official. It's just like to enlighten the Spaniards on how certain government officials, Spaniards, are abusing their authority and power, as witnessed personally by Juan de Plasencia, therefore making this a good primary source. This is one of the quoted passages that can be found in the publication. It says here, nothing indicates that friendship with them will help the missions in any way. On the contrary, it will destroy them. Because as I have observed, you can hardly find one that is not blinded and moved by greediness. This one is based on the first-hand experience of Juan de Plasencia as what he witnessed when he arrived in the country. Tagalogs. Who are the Tagalogs? It's taken from the word Taga-ilog. Ilog is a term for Filipino to pertain to river or streams, which where settlements or community settlements can be usually found during that time. Mostly these are this is at the northern part of the archipelago. But if you are from the down south, they are often called as pintados because of the paint. Their bodies are filled with paint. So the Tagalogs, they are usually the one that can be found in Luzon today. And there are also some that are in Visayas. The rest, they are from the down south or the pintados. So common settlements are found near rivers because number one, it's a source of life. So water is a source of life. Not only that it provide the water, but it also provide a good source of food, with hunting and fishing as the common form of livelihood during that time. Second, it's a good source, of course, of transportation. Knowing before that there are no roads yet, such that the common means of transportation is through river, through the use of the ancient old boats, the balangay. That's why they choose to settle near rivers so that they don't have to carry or move their bangkas anymore. Imagine if the communities are settling uphill, then they are going to a different place or to travel from one place to another, then therefore they have to bring their bangka with them, or they can risk just leaving it near the river or the stream and might be washed away when the river flows. So that's why most of the community decided to settle near the river and calling them Taga-Ilog. According to Placentia, the pre-Hispanic community follows a certain social class or social hierarchy, with the chieftain, otherwise known as the Ratu, on top of the chain, followed by the nobles, otherwise known as Maharlika, followed by the commoners, otherwise known as the aliping namamahay, and the bottom of the pyramid or the chain are composed of the slaves, otherwise known as aliping sagigilir. The datos, or the chieftain, they are the leaders of the tribe. They are the captain of the wars. They are the chief of their barangay, such that anyone who offended the dato and his family will be severely punished. Such that when the dato was captured by the opposing tribe, it is imperative for the community to do everything in their power to rescue the dato. Even if it will require prisoner exchange of 10 members just to get back the dato, it doesn't really matter. The next class, the Maharlika, they are the highest class nobles. They are considered as the freemen, such that they do not pay taxes. Usually, the Maharlika, they accompany the dato when the dato is leading the charge in the tribal wars. So they are rich, but the question is, if you are rich, will you be joining the dato to fight the other tribes, knowing that there's a possibility for you to die? Just like today, if you are rich, can you imagine yourself going to Mindanao and fighting the Abu Sayyaf? Can you imagine your capitalist, the elites fighting the NPA? Probably not. But during that time, it's common for the highest class or the nobles to join the Datu in defending the tribe against invaders or in trying to get more territories. Why? Because that's the easiest way to get rich. Because when the tribe eventually defeats another tribe, the dato will give them the spoils of war, which are usually properties, then therefore making the Maharlika more landed and they're going to be more rich. So when married, the Maharlika, they cannot transfer from one village to another or one barangay to the other without paying a certain amount from their barangay. This is to prohibit to limit the possibility that the barangay or the village will lose a certain amount uh, in uh, in the event that the Maharlika decided to move from one village to another. Next are the aliping namamahay. Aliping namamahay is one of the two types of alipin or slaves, with the namamahay being the upper class compared to the sagigilir. That's why they're called the commoners. In layman's term, they are your kasangbahay today that are stay out, which means they do their job in the morning and then in the evening they go back home because they are actually landed. They have the right to earn properties. So they serve the master. They also accompany the dato in war, rode for him in his travel. They are often mistaken as slaves because they are always with the dato. How come they are just commoner? Because probably they used to be a sagilir. They were able to pay off their debt. That's why they were able to be emancipated. The bottom of the pyramid is for the aliping sagigilir or the slaves. In layman's term, they are the kasambahay who are stay in because they do not have any property. Because they are itself a property. They stay in the master's house and land. They can be sold and transferred because they are treated as a property or a commodity. A portion of their harvest is given to them and they can be paid to the quality of their work. Which means if they are doing good, then they can be paid more. But if they are doing bad, chances are they won't get anything because they are just slaves, the lowest among the classes. A person can become a slave if the person is a prisoner of war, meaning he is not originally from the tribe or the village. He was just captured after the tribal wars or by reason of death. So, as a form of debt payment, a slave will have to work for the Maharlika class or by inheritance because of it's a mere a slave is a mere possession. That's why it can be inherited. And fourth one, it can come in the form of a punishment. So the question is, if you're a sagi gilir, is there a possibility for you to be the dato in the future? Or is there a possible way from rags to riches? The answer is, of course, yes. When you were forgiven out of compassion. If, for example, you're the slave of the dato and you were doing good or you did something good, such that the dato thought of giving you your freedom, therefore, you can be emancipated from being an alipin to a commoner or to a maharlika. Or if you were able to settle your obligations or pay off your debt, then therefore you will no longer be a sagigilir or namamahay, making you a freeman or a commoner or maharlika. Or if by any chance the datu awarded condonation or has forgiven or awarded or granted you freedom, therefore you're no longer a slave. Or by bravery, by means of joining the war or tribal wars, and you happen to be the hero of that war, and therefore, as a form of reward, you will be emancipated. Or lastly, by marriage. So if you are a slave and you married somebody from the Maharlika, therefore that makes you a Maharlika, and you're no longer treated to be a slave. Marriage can greatly affect the status of an individual, such that a Maharlika marrying a Maharlika retains the Maharlika status of the child of their children. But if a Maharlika eventually marries a slave, his or her own slave, the child will be a free man, together with the mother. But if a Maharlika married the slave, or her namamahay, or a sagigilir, not his or her own slave, what could be the status of a child? The child can either be slave or be a free man, depending on certain condition. The first child will follow the status of the father. So if the father is the maharlika, therefore the kid or the child is a maharlika as well. But if the father is a slave, therefore the first child will be a slave. Then followed by the mother. So if this time around the mother is the slave, and then you're the second child, therefore you will be a slave. Followed by the father, and then the mother status again, and then the father status again, and so forth. But in the event that there is only one child, what's the status? Half free, half slave. Accordingly, the people used to live in structures made of light materials, mostly of nipa, palm, kogon grass, and bamboo, in what is otherwise known as bahay kubo, or our little tiny houses. So what are the other customs of the Tagalogs as noted by Juan de Plasencia? First, the marriage customs. According to Plasencia, men in general were monogamous, and they are called asawa. They need to observe the courtship practice of paninilbihan, in which in the traditional case wherein the man will render service to the family of the woman in order to gain their trust and eventually give them the blessing for their marriage. But prior to marriage, dowry is very, very important. Dowry is the present given by the man to the woman's parents. And there are three types of dowry. It can be the bigay kaya, or a piece of land or gold will be given by the family or by the man to the family of the woman or to the parents of the woman. It can be the panghihimuyat, or any specific or any special gift for the bride's parents. And the third type, probably this got your attention, the bigay suso, or the remuneration equivalent to the bride's mother for the milk she nourished her daughter. That's dowry. Take note, unmarried woman cannot own any property. That's why dowries are given to the parents of the woman. Not until they are married, that's the only time that they can obtain any property. So what happens to the dowry in the case of a divorce? According to Plasencia, there are different situations depending on the status. If the divorce took place before the birth of a child and the wife has an intention of marrying another man, that's why facilitating the divorce. Therefore, the family of the woman or the woman needs to return to the husband twice the amount of the dowry that was given to her parents. But if the wife has no intention of marrying another, the dowry is given back to the husband. But this totally changed if the situation is after the birth of the child. The fine and the dowry that was given to the parents will be given to the children, which was held by their responsible relatives. In short, the money will go, or the dowry will go to the child or to the relative taking care of that child. But of course, this is not always being followed. All do not do it. According to Plasencia, the Tagalogs also conduct a certain form and type of worship prior to the spread of catechism in Christianity. They worship demigods. They do this in a place of worship called Pandot. And they also call it sometimes simbahan, which means a temple or place of adoration. It is usually celebrated in the large house of the datu or the chief. It is sometimes held in a created temporary shed called CB for the purpose of sheltering the assembled people, which are usually in large number. The whole barangay were united and joined during the worship. They are called nagaanitos. Anito pertaining to a certain god. So these are the different idols or the demigod praised and worshipped by the Tagalogs. First, the Catalonan can be a man or a woman, an honorable person among the natives and can be held by people or rank. The Catalonan is sometimes considered as a priest or a priestess in which the community seeks for help in times of illness or disease. Another is the manganguway. These are the witches who tend to deceive the people by pretending to heal the sick person. If the manganguway wishes to kill someone at once, they could do it. Or they are said to be that they could prolong life for a year by binding to the waist a live serpent. Like the manganguway, the manyisalat have the power to apply remedies, specifically to lovers, such that the husband would abandon his own wife or prevent him from having sexual intercourse with his wife. Now, on the other hand, if it is a woman, the manyisalat can bring sickness to the woman, making her discharge blood in any form of matter. Another idol is the mangkukolam, which is very common to the Tagalogs. Mangkukolam, such as the common word today, kulam, its duty was to emit fire from himself at night, once or often each month, and then therefore the fire cannot be emitted or extinguished. The power of the mangkukulam is to inflict pain to anyone using a certain doll or a spell. Next is the hokloban. This word hokloban is a common term that is used by Tagalog today to refer to old person who doesn't do anything good. But it originally came from this practice of the Tagalog. The hokloban is another kind of witch, but with greater efficacy than the manganguhay because they could kill somebody whom they choose either just by raising or saluting their hand. They can also heal anyone whom they made ill by using other charms or spells. Another idol is the silagan, which are always clothed in white, who lives often in the island of Catanduanes, and they are said to be tearing out liver and eat it, therefore causing death to the person. Silagan in the modern sense of the world today are like your aswang. Seven are the mangtatanggal, or in layman's term today, the manananggal, which the purpose is to show himself at night to many persons without his head or entrails. In the morning, returns to his or her original persona. According to Plasencia, during that time, there are also what they call oswang, but not like the silagan that eats liver and kill men. These are sorcerer that flies, murders men, and eat their flesh, and they are common in the Visayas Island. Another popular idol are the manggagayoma, or today known as the manggagayuma, which are which that specializes in love issues by making love potion, or what we call today as gayuma. Another are the sonat, or the preachers, who are witches that are considered as priests or priestesses, and they also have the pangatahohan, are what we known as the soothsayer. And last among the list, according to Placentia, there are also idols that they are calling Bayogin, or today known as the Kotkin. So the manner of burying the dead during that time is that the deceased is buried beside the house. If the dead is the chief, they place the body beneath the little house or porch that was specifically or specially built for this purpose. In today's term, this is what we call mausoleum. But before interring him, mourns the chief for 4 days, or today known as burol or viewing. Then afterwards, lay him in a boat that will serve as a coffin or bier, and a guard will be watching over him together with the slave. If the dead is a warrior, a living slave is tied beneath him until the slave dies too. That is in honor of the honorific act done by the slave. For many days, the relatives of the deceased warrior will bewail him, singing lyres and praising him of his good qualities until they got weary. This is often accompanied by eating and drinking. So today, these are the usual events or situation that is present in burols or lamais or viewing. Now, this is a special case cited by Plasencia. The Aitas or Negrillos or Negritos had a different form of burial, such that they are dug deep in a perpendicular hole and they place the deceased within, living in an upright position with the head unburied. They just going to place a coconut to the head that will serve as the shield to the face or the head. And then for retribution, they will look for the person or the Indian who killed the Negrito. These are the significant customs of the Tagalogs, as noted and personally observed by Juan de Plasencia.